Good day, ladies and gentlemen. The things that you're about to hear will change the course of events in your life as well as the world. I will give you the entire mechanism of how the fraud takes place in every government around the world. The fraud and the solutions to it will be towards the end. By the end of this presentation, which will be in two parts, or within the continuation of this timeline, you will have enough knowledge to be able to sack whichever government that you wish. Because of this, and listen very carefully please, I will take full responsibility for every peaceful man and woman conduct in the information that I'm about to share with you. In doing so, it is a foregone conclusion that the psychopaths and narcissists in our world that have rubbished essentially our world is null and void to access this type of information. Because I have been so inspired by the Canadians and what they have done, I am bringing this to the attention of the entire world. And on Thursday, I will train 500 people in Canada to perform the duties that they need to as men and women, as well as on the back of the information that I'm about to share with you that has been hidden from mankind and womankind for over 150 years. That is all. So, because I have had little or no time to prepare this, I will be scrolling through many documents, sharing it with you because it'll be all evidence-based. You are asked to share this information because almost certainly there may be, shall we say, shadow banning taking place. And the postmasters of this world, whether in fact or fiction, they are to aid this transmission in every way that they can. Full stop. I will now go on to the mechanism itself. It'll be precise and it'll be concise. And on the second part, I will elaborate further for those people that require more detailed information. Full stop. Your government, ladies and gentlemen, which are not your government by de facto in its nature, take their powers, as it were, from one source, and that source is called the county coroner. The county coroner's job, who is essentially a lawyer, tests for signs of life. That means, is there life in the man or a woman that they're looking at? If there isn't, then they move them onto the category of what is known as persons, which are personas, actors, governments, essential service providers, and all the other things that you have now come to know as the shadow government, as well as the FBI, CIA, and the military as well. So, the question is, how do you bypass the coroner? Because the coroner at this moment has not been put under the penalty of perjury. So I am doing that all around the world now. I'm putting the county coroners all around the world, including the City of London's own coroner, under the penalty of perjury on a geometric level playing field, with all the levels of congruence that all men and women can create, which means it's congruent. Now, this other information, you need to listen very carefully, because I'm going to make any one of you that want to become a coroner. I'm going to qualify you to do that in this presentation. In order, which is the qualification of a coroner, in order for you to know and become a coroner, you first of all need to know court proceedings. court performances. A court performance, ladies and gentlemen, takes place in the well of the court under a geometric level playing field where all parties are concerned are under the penalty of perjury. What does that mean? It means that they tell the truth, the whole truth, and of course, in negative formation, the whole truth. Okay, the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. I will give you the court proceedings, as it were, as I explain it. The court proceedings require some level of testimony. That means you require a fiduciary, what is known as the 13th in a jury. It doesn't need to be 13 men or women. It can be as little as 3. All sitting on a geometric level playing field where there is no break in continuation. They all have to be in a level field. That's another one. Everyone has to be on their oath. The postal mechanics, albeit the ability to contract, is what the post office is. It is the contracting venue of this entire planet. That means when you stick your postage stamp on that document, it makes you the postmaster transporting the document as well as paying for the fee of that contract. Those are court proceedings. Just like any court, football court, tennis court, whatever court it is or whatever ring it is, nobody is disabled. In fact, disability in sports is shunned upon. You can get kicked out of it. And this is anybody that's a referee, anybody that knows how to play football, tennis, or even chess, or that including drafts and so on and so forth, already has knowledge of court proceedings. Have you shown the audience of the definition of what a coroner is and what the qualification is? Can you do that for me now, please? As you can see, the information that I'm giving you is outsourced, which means it's not coming from my lips. It's being sourced at its source. These are not my opinions. The second qualification is that you need to show you have the ability to check for signs of life. That is, are they responsive to logic? Are they brain dead? Are they able to understand what proceedings are? Are they responsive to light in their retina or eyeball? Do they respond to stroking or pinching? You are now all have the qualification to check for signs of life. As you know, every single man and woman on this planet knows when something is dead and when it is not. You're going to double check for pulse, for breathing, the sounds of breathing, and etc. As you can see, these are the qualifications. And the second qualification, and that's why 99% of all coroners are essentially lawyers. I have now given you the knowledge of being a lawyer. And I've also given you the knowledge of how to become a coroner. At this stage, ladies and gentlemen, I have shared the information that you need to stop and correct the de facto government. It, however, does not stop there. I'm going to tell you how another fraud is going to take place. In order, as you can see, when a coroner is appointed, that coroner is biased. They have done and used this mechanism for the purposes of lying, cheating, whore-making, war-making, and so on and so forth, which are all part of zero tolerance. Barbarism, ladies and gentlemen, which is another word for Babylon, the systems of Babylon, have zero tolerance. And zero tolerance simply means the coroners in place at this moment that are from the City of London as well as the various counties all over the world now needs to be sacked by you. And on Thursday for the Canadians, I will teach them how to sack their county coroners and appoint their own coroners within their own communities. It only takes 2 of you to appoint a coroner. And the third man or woman, as it were, is the coroner themselves. Full stop. As I've said, on Thursday, I will teach the Canadian people to sack the coroner. What does that mean exactly? The coroner, ladies and gentlemen, the power of the coroner is the highest court on the planet. And can you give me the definition of the coroner as a judiciary? In other words, a man or a woman of a judge. In this case, as the City of London it describes it, a person. That means it's an actor. The county coroner, ladies and gentlemen, sets up through the county coroner's court a county recorder's office, what you guys call a county court. And within that county court, the coroner appoints the sheriff. The sheriff's duty is to go out of its jurisdiction, as it were, within a radius of 12 miles, I think it is, to be able to snatch people that are considered to be persons and to bring them into the jurisdiction of where persons are tried, which are another word for actors. You are about to sack that fiduciary system on Thursday, thereby bringing to an end the so-called coroner's court in fiction. Full stop. The information that I have revealed, although it lacks 101 adjectives, it lacks color, as it were, because it's precise and direct to the point. As because of this, I will be taking a break once I've done this presentation to gather my thoughts as well as your questions, so I can add that volume, that weight to what I have just said. Full stop. The Church of England, ladies and gentlemen, is another word for Lord. Church means Lord. And that Church of England has always historically been the treasury of the country. And the treasury of the country is the crown that you wear. Because as you know, coroner means what? It means corona. You're in the corona period. What does the crown mean? The crown means corona. What does corona mean? It means coroner. They all mean one and the same thing. There is an additional word, an additional parasite that is about to enter and try to make claim to your coroner, to your crown, your corona, as it were. And that thing, that parasite, is called Elizabeth II. And of course, as you folks know, that parasite claims to be what? The head of the Church of England, which it intends to celebrate that as a coronation, because the word coronation means what? Corona, crown. That is all of those things that have been returned back to you. In doing so, ladies and gentlemen, if it is successful, that parasite, what it will do through its platinum jubilee on the June 2020, year of 2022, will try to take your crown, your glory, your corona, by claiming it to be the trustee, as it were, for the Church of England. The Church of England, ladies and gentlemen, is another word for Lord. And in the Lords and Parliament, as it were, the upper house and the lower house, what you are seeing is that these men and women are the ones that are going to take your crown away from you. They will try to do that by giving you measly handouts like 4 days holiday. And this is going to take place all over the Commonwealth. The Commonwealth is another word for Elizabeth II, which is a legal fiction. It is a legal fiction. Can one of you out there listening to me find out the true name of the Queen, Elizabeth II, and post it for me, for my staff are not, so my staff do not get overwhelmed by the things that I'm telling them as they do the necessary searches for it. The House of Lords, essentially, its figurehead is Elizabeth II, as well as the head itself, intend to maneuver themselves in place to take over your corona. And as a chief federal postal court judge, as a plenipotentiary judge, which is an educator, am maneuvering the people of this planet so it does not happen. You must not pick up that contract of 4 days under the Commonwealth to give you holiday. You must not pick it up, because if you do, you're essentially accepting that as being the head of your corona. Corona is another word, ladies and gentlemen, also from the glare, as it were, of the sun, as well as the glare in your baby's eyes, and each one of you have your own corona. These parasites, through the use of fictitious language, and can you please punch up for me the definition of legal fiction? Tell me when it's done, please. As you can see from the legal definition, the definition of a legal fiction is to accept something that is not true. This is the kind of oxymoron that they get you to believe. In other words, it's getting you to believe Elizabeth II is the head of church. Do you understand? Once you believe it, you have now entered into the realm of the shadow world, calling itself the legal fiction. This is, and pardon the language, for I have no other words for it, bullshit. And that parasite will not take that crown. That crown is the property of the people, not persons. Elizabeth II is a person, an actor. And the lords, spiritual and temporal, have no place on this planet anymore, because the entire world is becoming what is known as a leaderless organization. You know that as DeFi in finance, which means no decentralization of finance. And you also know that as the starfish and the spider organization. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what is happening. You are all becoming starfish organizations, which means you are leaderless. You don't need a leader when you have your own corona. They will try to sell you democracy. Democracy is toxic by its very nature, which I'll speak about later on. Each one of you, ladies and gentlemen, once you have been trained, will be able to point your own coroners, your own courts, and so on and so forth, and sack the de facto government, as it were, running on federal conduits. In other words, post office. Want to make it very clear, even though I lack poetry in what I'm saying. The information I've given you is that I have made sure that the county coroner does not hand over your corona through the Commonwealth to what is known as the head of the Church of England, and she will take it off you and then take it into the City of London for her to transmit as a transmitting utility through what's known as the mayoral ceremony, and hand all that money, the glory, the crowning, the language, the birth certificates, all of that into the City of London, which is a foreign country sitting in England. I will come back to you on democracy. and this is not in any chronological or any order of importance. Democracy, ladies and gentlemen, is just a demonstration. It's in passe that it means, democracy means power. Demo means exactly what it is. It's only something that is mimicking. It's a form of mimicry. I could further passe it, but that will take more and more time, which I can do within the training program. And that is open for the Canadians and Canadians only. And I will be holding another one a few hours later for Ireland and the rest of the world. So you can sack your so-called Supreme Court and all the other courts, as well as put the Garda under arrest, because I'll give you all that knowledge. Ladies and gentlemen, the things I'm talking about are first-hand knowledge. They are not theoretical. One such element is when me and Alex surrounded, as it were, the Lloyds of London. They shut the whole building down. So have no mistake. We've been to those places where you need to go. Democracy, you'll be sold by academic and scholastic mass debaters as being the way forward. No. There are quite literally millions of corporations that is running the de facto government and putting their claims in what is known by individual means. So if the government or anything else turns around and says we can't fulfill the wishes of every single one of you, it's not the government's job to do that. It is the job of the bureaucracy, and they've been doing it for hundreds of years. And I'll describe more of that on the training program. The Jubilee, ladies and gentlemen, is the Jewish word for forgiveness of debt and so-called sin. It has been hijacked by Elizabeth II under with the Commonwealth, with her lords at hand, as it were, and I am sacking those parasites. That is why they wear the cloaks of stupidity, and they wear the cloak over their head, the canopy over their head, so the Creator, albeit their God, does not see the wickedness that they conjure. Conjure is a necromancy word. The geometric level playing field, ladies and gentlemen, is what you are on at the moment. You have been always on a geometric level playing field. It was the job of these parasites to take you away from it by creating a multitude of tenses in the future, in the past, devoiding that of the present. In addition to that, to disable you in their admiralty courts with language, blackmail, kidnapping, and the rest of it. The government itself, ladies and gentlemen, that you witness every day on television called media, which is an organization of lies. Like the BBC, they are liars. Just as anybody paying the BBC is already performing criminality. You can use my face. You can use my face and said, this man said to us, paying the television license is a performance of crime under fictitious language 2006 in this country, fraud, as it were. The claiming of the geometric level playing field is that it is me versus you. What that means is that everyone is equal. Anybody disabled, it's not a game. That's why when you go into these fictitious courts, there are multiple levels and layers. So they can continue breaking their continuation of evidence, as well as a multitude of things which I cannot cover here. When is the last time that any one of you went into the well of the court and the judge, the jury, the other side, usually on the right-hand side through the Watergate, when have they ever been on a geometric level playing field? The answer is no. Because of these things, I am telling the Lord, spiritual and temporal, Elizabeth II, and all of these things all around the world to get lost. F off now. You are a parasite. If you want further knowledge, ladies and gentlemen, regarding to the things that you have been experiencing, please do read up Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars. The weaponry that you are thinking of is not quite the way you think it is. It is a silent weapon. what is known as a soft kill or even a hard kill. As Federal Judge Hugh educated me yesterday. The quiet wars, ladies and gentlemen, are the bureaucratic systems that have been disabling you and stealing your sweat equity. That is the sole purpose of what is known as Elizabeth II. That's its sole purpose. It has no sovereignty, even though the word sovereignty can be examined. It's very misleading. Since it has nothing of its own, it can claim nothing of any independent nature because it keeps wanting to steal from you. It is your crown. It is your energy that they are sucking your life on. If you royalists find this abusive, please unsubscribe and leave. I find you to be a parasite too, and zero tolerance will also be conducted and performed on you. One of the mechanisms, ladies and gentlemen, of this levying of the sweat equity is through your birth certificate. There are two. One is a certificate of live birth in conventional language and what is known as a birth certificate. Your birth certificate allows you to perform commas, okay? And your live life claim, albeit life claim, is there to show that you have what's known as signs of life to the county coroner. Since we no longer need a fiction county coroner that has never been under the penalty of perjury, but he is now, or she, they need to be sacked because they lied and they cheated. You know that you have a pulse. Who the hell are you to them to tell you you don't? Some of the ways that they check is also is, are you dead on paper? Do you have a mortgage? If you have a mortgage, life is tricky. It's hard. Mortgage means death pledge, and only dead people have pledges of death. If you have any faith, ladies and gentlemen, you would share this information with everybody that you know, whatever religion or belief that you are. Another thing that is going around globally is how many of you actually believe in Omicron. Omicron, ladies and gentlemen, if you have been vaccinated for, is just another way of saying that it's moronic. So, congratulations on being vaccinated from being moronic. These are codes that they speak to you in. I've covered courtroom proceedings. There is another element that you need to know. When you opened up a bank account or a mortgage, you signed over what is known as an all powers of attorney, a lasting powers of attorney. What that means that they can cast your vote for you. They can do anything that they want for you, set the curriculum for you, your children, take your children away, called ward of state. These are all proof that you are brain dead. I have, for the Canadian people on Thursday, the dates of which I will reveal. I'm able to train 500 of you to take your country back. Country, quite literally, the word is a painted name. It comes from the UPU, Universal Postal Union. That is why no country can be recognized as a country unless it has a postal treaty. You have a postal treaty, and I'm the Chief Federal Postal Court Judge that judicates on those things. So I have produced documents for the Canadian people to be able to sack the coroner, sack the sheriff. In doing so, you essentially have shown that you are men and women. You are now free to arrest any police officer that dares to even look at you. You have the ability to strip them of their insignia and put them under arrest. You can now start to give orders to the sheriff as a man because you have done those things that are man. One more element, ladies and gentlemen, before I break for 15 minutes. The camera will be on, the mic will be off. That is, the so-called president in your country cannot come and see you. He cannot. And if he does, you are in dire straits. I'll explain why. In law, there is what is known as one law is equal to another. which means man can only contract with another man. Fiction can only contract with another fiction. A corporation can only contract with another corporation. And when they are out of level, they cannot contract. If your president or prime minister comes and sees you, he can only come and see you as a corporate instrument, because your parliament does nothing to pass laws for men and women. It only passes laws for corporate instruments. That's why they call you a person. That is why they say you are an individual. These are all corporate words to recognize corporate instruments at work. If you want to put anybody under the penalty of perjury, I would teach you these mechanisms and provide you with the documents. You make it your own and you go ahead and you do what you need to do. Just as the Egyptians did nearly 10 years ago under the Arab Spring Uprising. And it is now for the entire world to do the same thing. The BBC and various other news organizations are lying to you. The Canadians have not gone away. They are still there, and there are hundreds of thousands of people coming to their aid as we speak, including New Zealand, Australia, everywhere around the world. This is not going to stop, ladies and gentlemen. These are men and women doing what men and women supposed to be doing all the time. Stopping and correcting viciousness, lies, stupidity, and etc. The Lord spiritual and temporal, you have already proven yourself to be a worthless piece of dog feces on mankind's shoe. Take your stupidity, your fictitious language, and get the hell out of our world, our planet, our earth. I will break for 15 minutes to answer some of the questions that have come up, and I need to review if I have successfully transmitted this knowledge. And it lacks poetry. I'm aware of it, and therefore it's not exactly a Shakespearean act. Ladies and gentlemen, you have academics in your country, albeit one particular academic, that may try to talk you out and ask you to comply with the government, which is de facto in its nature. De facto means it is non-factual. It is a legal fiction. You don't want to go speaking to your prime minister, but I will give you the means to dictate your terms and conditions to them. Full stop on that. I will also be taking questions, as it were, and making sure I've covered the things that I need to for Thursday. In addition to that, I'll be giving some instructions to my Tricks and Traps University students as well, as we are now being fully birthed, as it were, past tense already, with some teething problems that the governments are going to be experiencing from men and women, because you're about to go extinct, corporations that don't do what they're supposed to be doing. Ladies and gentlemen, most of the things that you have been doing as corporations is a hangable offense. It's a hangable offense. Obama, whoever these people are, legal fictions, your day has come. Just like the Federal Reserve, its end of its tether. Its legal instruments are just simply eating away at its own foundations. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I will speak to you again in 15 minutes. The camera will be running. The mic will be switched off. patience, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your patience, ladies and gentlemen. I promised myself that I wouldn't get too passionate, but like so many times I end up being so, because these things are so very unique to my experiences. I have witnessed the Crown Corporation steals men's lives and women's lives, children's lives, babies' lives for so many years. I have zero tolerance for them. That is why I'm equipping every single man and woman to be able to do the things that I do. I will now answer some questions, rudimentary questions. And in addition to that, I'll go through some of the other tabs that are open that have yet to be answered. Yeah, well, thank you very much. One other element I forgot to explain to you or use out there is that the county coroner is also the only one that can arrest a sheriff. These are the findings of Alex as well as the Federal Postal Court. What I am saying to you in every certain terms, when men and women come together and appoint a coroner or elect a coroner with the knowledge that I have given you, with some very simple medical training like how to check for signs of life, which any first aid course will be able to teach you, you will now be in the same position as the fiction coroners have been running riot on you. In doing so, you can set up your own courts in your own communities. And you must run this as a leaderless organization. That means units of 3 in their millions, as it were. If you go centralized on this, you'll be infiltrated by the Crown operatives and try to demoralize you out of this position that I'm speaking about. The safest numbers to run on this is units of 3. So 3 men and women can come together to do this. When we did this, ladies and gentlemen, with the Lloyds of London, the only expression that I can say to you is that they were, in diplomatic language, defecating themselves. And we was only 2 people, just 2. 1 American, Alex, and 1 me. At some point, and as you Canadians have come to understand, all it takes is for you to be men and women to sack these people. There's a few things that I probably need to describe more to you. The so-called governments, the prime ministers, presidents, they are the interface between private men and women that instruct that corporate instrument to talk to another corporate instrument. It's just that through language and so on and so forth, you got yourself believing Parliament pushes out laws for you. It does not. They're all acts. That's why the Emergency Act is an act, like a Shakespearean act. All this knowledge is from David Wayne Miller, who educated us on court proceedings better than anybody I know. So if you want some knowledge about court proceedings, so you can appoint your coroner, as it were, go and listen to David Wayne Miller. He's on my website. He's my trainer and mentor. On Thursday, I will be holding a training program for the Canadians. For you to access me, all you need to do is show me, like a driving license or a passport, with the serial numbers and any addresses and things like that blotted out. I just need to see your face and your name. And email that to me. Please make it legible. And I'm able to train 500 of you to do this and take it to your communities. Once again, it is first-hand knowledge. And later on the same day, I'll be doing that for the rest of the world, including Ireland, through Irene. And she will be doing that for the Irish people as well as Europe. And we have people in place to be able to do that and bring that about for you. Okay. Full stop. Do you have any questions, Alpha? Alpha has joined us for some question asking, just making sure that I've answered all the questions, because unfortunately I'm not one of these people that have adjectives upon adjectives. I'm not a scholastic, I'm a doer. I do things and then I teach it. And this bit is a present for the entire planet. Yes, please.
One of the questions came up, Mark, is what does the all rights mean? All rights reserved.
Yeah, sure. This is a document, 4-corner rule. All rights means that you control every single corner of that document, because this is your court case, this is your constitution, this is your own governance, this is your coroner's report, this is your own report, this is your live life claim, this is your certificate of live birth, this is your birth certificate, this is the piece of paper that you put on the front door. You might put private or you might put your terms and conditions in. That's what it means. It means you absolutely control everything on your document because it's your court. Is that it?
That's
Yeah, okay. So I'm going to come on to the crown seal. Okay. Can you show me the crown seal, please? That crown seal is copyrighted. And basically what they are doing is that they are talking about your crown. Once you have appointed your own coroner to run your own courts and your own life, this crown corporation becomes null and void. It no longer has any existence. And I'll teach you how to sack those asses, as it were, for their thinking that they have an absolute right of way into your life. Can somebody read out for me what it says on the shield? I've given you the definitions of it.
It's Dieu et mon droit.
Yeah, what does it mean?
It's God and my right.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now the creators giving you the right over any government, lord, spiritual and temporal, etc. The faith is yours, the religion is null and void. The crown returns back to the people. Next one, please.
It says, Honi soit qui me dépense.
Now, all who think ill of this, something cursed. What they're basically saying to you is they're trying to get you not to say anything bad about the crown. Otherwise, a curse will befall you. We now know, of course, they are just simply dog pieces stuck on mankind's shoe. These people couldn't administer a running of the bath, let alone anything else. A liar is a liar. And the liar knows the truth. That is why they lie. You guys understand that? Can we turn to the last page, please? the last tab, the toxic people. I can't see the page, but I'll go through it. There are some individuals there as well as individual corporations. One of them is the Irish TV, newspapers, etc., trying to thwart the efforts that I make through their mainstream TV. That is why virtually anybody that's ever been on their talk shows or BBC One talk shows or Question Time and so on and so forth are just simply being prepared for public office. There isn't going to be any public offices, ladies and gentlemen. It's all going Bitcoin. In other words, you'll become your own banker. The corporations will have no choice but to go cooperative, and no cooperative answers to a government. Okay? Now, the BBC is a pathological liar with superb camera work with their costume dramas and their nature programs. Apart from that, they are lying toxifiers. When you pay the so-called TV license, which is coming to an end, they're trying to get you to, pay it through your council tax. This is, of course, zero tolerance because they know they're dead in the water. If you need to use my face and say, this man, the Chief Federal Postal Court judge, said that you are in fraud and that you need to answer some questions, you may do that. For you Canadians out there, if you believe that I do not take responsibility for the things that I say and do, you can use my face, go through the procedures what I've taught you, and will be teaching you on Thursday to make it on paper as well. You can cut out my face, as it were, and say, this man has shown us what a county coroner is, what a coroner is, what a live birth certificate is, and here's the paperwork, and I'm putting you under arrest for interfering with men. You can see the police out there doing what they're doing are sheer brutes. And for the 20% or less of the good men and women that wear a uniform to protect and serve, I make my apologies known to you. As you know, these are brutes. And brutes have no place in your life. Any man and woman is duty bound to stop and correct these brutes. Please avoid making, be subservient or protest them. They have no power. You can just simply go up to them, say to them, step aside right now, I'm a man. Step aside right now. You interfere with this man, I will rip that signia off you and put you under arrest and hand you over to the sheriff. And if we can't find one, we will hold you here until the sheriff turns up. And also we have a coroner in place to make sure that you get arrested on the spot. In other words, that's called detaining, taking them into custody so they do not harm you or themselves, because they're a danger to themselves. Now, can we turn to this character called Dex in Australia? Tell me when you have his picture there. This particular individual lives in Australia and he's basically what's known as a malignant narcissist, okay, with violence, so on and so forth. They call it the triangle, as it were, in narcissism and psychopathy, which means they are extremely violent, extremely selfish, and so on and so forth. I'm going to give you the address of this man. Can somebody in Australia, one of my students, go and see if this man still lives at that address, so I can put him under arrest, because he's stolen money. He's done quite a few damages, as it were. Full stop. Can you turn to this guy called Peter, the German guy? Tell me when you have him in sight. This particular individual is German, and a few years back I was helping the Germans, as it were, out of Israel, essentially stealing. Sorry, let me start that again. This particular man came to me saying that he's had a hard life and so on and so forth, so we gave him a job driving us about. He's never had any employment. He's never had any profession. He has no qualification. He's a pure pathological liar and idiot. essentially a nobody. But essentially what he was doing is trying to set me up, as it were, to say that he's the one that done this and he's the one that done that. And while I was training Germans in Germany to make sure that Israel doesn't steal their pensions, because they did it through a back of a lie, two individuals approached me called Christoph and Bernd. Bernd is from Switzerland, Christoph is German. They essentially first of all approached Dr. Colwell to help them out, but then their church paid them 30 or 50,000 euros or something like that to come and find me so I can train them. These two individuals convinced me that all this is just pro bono and I'll be essentially helping them out, and I agreed to it. But what they did is that they teamed up with this pathetic driver of ours, saying that he's the one that created all this, so they can kind of keep the money that the church gave them. The point I'm making, ladies and gentlemen, I could have saved the pensions being taken away by the Israelis under what is known as appropriations. They did that successfully by saying that they have arrested, especially Austria, arrested men and women that questioned the existence of the Holocaust. See, on the back of those things, what they did is they got the German people to pay reparations, damages to Israel. Israel is not a custodian of the Jewish people. Israel is a legal fiction. So essentially, these individuals, as pathetic as they are, essentially stopped me and a whole heap of other things that I was doing from helping the Germans out, because the Germans, the men and women in Germany, will not be in the dire situation that they are in if their pensions were still intact. I'm the Chief Federal Postal Court judge, and I was able to stop and correct all those things. But these individuals being so bloody greedy for the sake of 30,000 euros or 50,000 euros, they sold out their kind. This one particular one lives somewhere in Dover. I need one of my students to go and check to see if he still lives there. With all of these things, it's checking. Okay, I want you to check, not terrorize them, not beat them or anything like that. Knock on their door and check if they're still there. Okay? If they are, I know I don't need to waste time looking for them, because believe it or not, it costs a lot of money to hire private detectives to go looking for these people. Is there anybody else that I have missed? Just remind me, please. Oh, I simply forgot, ladies and gentlemen. There's one particular character that's opened up a website, and I'll put the link into that and the address of where he's operating from. He set up a website pretending to sell David Wayne Miller's books. I got his address. I need somebody to go and check. He's in the United States, that he is who I think it is, so I can put him in prison for the purposes of copyright infringement. It is all too obvious. These individuals, as well as when they gang up to create corporations, are pathological liars and they're cheaters. Their world has come to an end. Full stop. Is there anything else that I need to cover? Very clear. For the Canadians that want to participate in this training, you know what to do, and I'll make that available to make your life a lot more easier, so you don't need to stand in the cold and etc. And just understand the use of the pen is just as effective. Have no mistake, Canadians, you've inspired the entire planet. Yeah, you've inspired the entire planet, just like the Arab Spring uprising did in that part of the region. And of course, there is no connotation here. And remember that each one of you is unique. And so all service providing governments are there to service you. I'll say one more thing. You probably need to know this. The Canadian flag that you're flying, the two red on the left and the right, and the red maple leaf in the middle, that's a corporate flag. That's a corporate flag. If you want to fly a flag, if you want to show your loyalty to your land, you can just have a white flag and write whatever you want to write on it. But as long as you are flying that corporate flag, it is like me waving about, shall we say, what would be conceived as the American flag in a war zone in the Middle East, me doing this. What are the Arabs going to do? They're going to take me out. You understand what I'm saying? You've got to know what your flags are, what they mean. This is David Wayne Miller's language flag. This is one of the oldest flags in history, called the St. George's Cross. It's a flag, and we own the copyright for it, the Federal Postal Court. It stands for being valor, truthful, and so on and so forth. Okay, everything that it's come to symbolize, but overtaken by really quite toxic people that try to poison these flags. Flag protocols is a must because they are in maritime and also on land jurisdiction, displaying your intent. If you display corporate flags, just look up the history of the Canadian flag, you will find your fathers were not flying the same flag. And your fathers and your grandfathers were also flying an entirely different flag from what your fathers were. Okay, this is how they work. Until Thursday, ladies and gentlemen, I look forward to your emails, and I look forward to training you and helping and aiding you be successfully birthed into the land that you was born on, as well as the entire planet. Thank you very much for listening to me. Until next time, look after yourselves.